nonton video ini, jangan lupa klik tombol subscribe dulu ya, karena subscribe itu gratis.
Bahasa Inggris Paket 5. Tornadoes occur when the conditions that cause thunderstorms are unusually violent. Winds blow in opposite directions around a strong updraft start a narrow, violent whirl. Centrifugal force effectively throws the air away from the center, leaving a core of very low pressure. This is much like stirring water in a cup, thus forming a vortex-like dip in the surface. This low-pressure core acts as a partial vacuum, sometimes helping to lift the roofs off houses. Most of the damage, though, result from the force of the wind itself. Around the edges of the whirls, wind prefer may reach 300 miles, 480 kilometers per hour. At first, the tornado's funnel is whitish-gray because it is composed of minute water droplets formed as the air in the funnel expands and cools. After touching down, the funnel becomes dark because of all the debris it has picked up. This debris can include soil, tree limbs, and parts of buildings. Tornadoes have been known to pick up automobiles, horses, and whole trees. A tornado usually moves toward the east, or often northeast in the northern hemisphere, and southeast in the southern hemisphere, at 25 to 40 miles, 40 to 65 kilometers per hour. Fortunately, most tornadoes are less than half a mile, 800 meters, wide. The edge of one may destroy all of the houses on one side of a street, while leaving those on the other side completely undamaged. Deaths from tornadoes in the United States averaged roughly 100 per year over the last century. However, they have dropped somewhat in recent decades as better forecasting and warning systems have been implemented. 1. Why is tornadoes funnel dark as soon as it touches the ground? A. It contains water droplets. B. The temperature is changed. C. It contains building materials. D. It whirls in high speed. E. It has picked up debris. 2. Why have death from tornado in the United States decreased in the recent decades? A. Most tornadoes are less than half a mile wide. B. There are no more tornadoes in the United States. C. There are better forecasting and warning systems. D. The tornadoes left the United States completely undamaged. E. The people are evacuated by the United States government. 3. What are impact of tornado? A. Water dropping. B. Heavy disasters. C. Whirls of winds. D. Wind blowing. E. Gray and dark sky. 4. While leaving those on the other side completely undamaged. Paragraph 3. The underlined word has similar meaning with A. Damaged. B. Vanished. C. Wounded. D. Safe. E. Gone. Berlin. Before the fall of the Berlin Wall, East Berlin was like the rest of East Germany, drab and depressed. Today it is a different story. There are once 40-year construction project underway, and investments in new construction are expected to exceed $20 billion. Part of this boom can be attributed to the fact that the national government of Germany will move to Berlin. The city will once again be Germany's leading city and a gateway to the expanding markets in Poland, Czech Republic, and other countries east of the German border. 5. How was East Berlin before the fall of the Berlin Wall? A. Beautiful and nice. B. Modern and interesting. C. Loading and expanding. D. Sophisticated and good. E. Dull and uninteresting. 6. Which of the following statements is true according to the text? A. The government of Germany has been moved to Berlin. B. East Berlin has changed after the collapse of the Berlin Wall. C. East Berlin is like the rest of Germany, a drab and depressed city. D. Before the fall of the Berlin Wall, East Berlin was the center of Germany. E. There are not more than 40 major construction projects. M. East Berlin. 7. What changes happened to East Berlin after the fall of the Berlin Wall? A. It's developing to become a leading city of Germany. B. It will become one of the richest cities in Germany. C. It's now the center of the country's government. D. It will be the biggest city in the world. E. It has become a state city. Indonesia is a country in Southeast Asia that consists of more than 13,000 islands. The islands lie along the equator and extend more than 5,000 kilometers. Many of the islands cover only a few square kilometers. But about a half of New Guinea and 3/4 of Borneo also belong to Indonesia. Both islands are the second and third largest islands in the world, after Greenland. Many geographers divide the more than 13,600 islands of Indonesia into three groups: 1. The Greater Sunda Islands, 2. The Lesser Sunda Islands, and 3. The Moluccas. Indonesia also includes Irian Jaya, which is part of New Guinea. The Greater Sunda includes Borneo, Sulawesi, Java, and Sumatra. The Lesser Sunda Islands extend from Bali eastward to the Timor. The Moluccas lie between Sulawesi and New Guinea. The western part of New Guinea is called Irian Jaya and Indonesian. 8. Where is Indonesia located? Located? A. In Southwest Asia. B. Along the Equator. C. New Guinea. D. Near Moluccas. E. In the Greenland. 9. The islands lie along the equator and extend more than 5,000 kilometers. The underlined word has similar meaning with A. Deceit. B. Occur. C. Fib. D. Tell. E. Located. 10. Which of the following statements is not true according to the text? A. Most of Indonesian population live in Irian Jaya. B. Indonesia has more than 13,000 islands. C. Borneo is the third biggest island in the world. D. Indonesia is situated in Southeast Asia. E. The Moluccas is between Sulawesi and New Guinea. Dear Sir/Madam, I am writing to complain about an article in last Monday's newspaper, School Fail Low-Income Children. As the head teacher in one of the largest junior high schools, I feel strongly that the article does not describe our school. My school has children from many different economic backgrounds, but a large percentage come from lower-income families. Nevertheless, our tests show that the children do well and benefit from the excellent work our teachers do. Last year, our school moved from the 24th to 5th place according to the official assessment by the state government. This is clearly not the failure that the article suggests. I would strongly recommend that more careful research should be conducted in the future, so that newspaper will be more realistically describe the true situation in our school. Yours sincerely, Joan Gonzalez. 11. What does the letter tell you about? A. Different economic background students. B. Achievement of low-income children. C. Complaint about the result of the unreal research. D. The percentage of the official assessment. E. The failure of low-income students in Study 12. What does the writer propose to Monday's newspaper? A. To present more information. B. To carry out the study accurately. C. To describe the school clearly. D. To be more careful in its report. E. The report the low-income students. Monday, July 11th, 2016. Universitas Airlangga initiates an event entitled Airlangga International Student Competition, AISC, the role of the youth to be agents of change for community empowerment, which will be held in Surabaya, Indonesia, on 7 to 10 November 2016. UNAIR is pleased to invite you all to participate in the event. As an AUN members, Universitas Airlangga intends to increase more international cooperation, which is a very important factor. Moreover, this event aims to increase the number of student mobility in Universitas Airlangga. This program runs for 3 days and consists of the following activities. 1. International Seminar Community Empowerment. 2. Competitions. Participants can join various competitions, including A. Paper competition. B. Poster presentation competition. C. Photography competition. 3. Workshop on photography focused on nature and journey photography and capturing the best moments. Furthermore, the event do not only involve students, but also lectures. If you need further information, please do not hesitate to contact International Office and Partnership Universitas Airlangga Emerta 206 to 208, 2nd floor, Kantor Management Universitas Airlangga. 13. The above announcement informs us about A. How to enroll at Universitas Airlangga. B. The students' participation in competition. C. The events for students held by Universitas Erlangga D. Seminar held by Universitas Erlangga E. Workshop on photography in Universitas Erlangga 14. Which of the following statement is true according to the text? A. Most students are able to participate in one of the events. B. International cooperation is less important. Factor C. Only students can be involved in the events held. D. The events will be held in more than 3 weeks. E. The students who are good at writing can join the paper competition. 15. If you need further information, please do not hesitate to contact. The underlined word means A. Worry, B. Doubt, C. Miss D, D. Believe, E. Consider. 2 years ago, John Smith, accompanied not only by his wife, but also by his 2 children, set out from London to drive to Singapore. Along the Asian Highway, Travel Publications Limited is an account of his adventures. This first part of the journey across Europe, described in a chapter called Traveling Hopefully, was not difficult. Their problem did not begin until they reached Turkey and began the long overland trip through Iran, Afghanistan, Nepal, Pakistan, and Burma. The main difficulties were bad roads and, in some places, a shortage of water. The car broke down many times and on 2 occasions had to be towed more than 100 miles to be nearest town. In Nepal, where the road was little more than a mountain track, the car was involved in an accident, and the family had to stay 150 miles away in Kathmandu for a week while the damage was repaired. The Smith took with them food and camping equipment. Although this extra weight probably caused many problems or breakdowns, John Smith believed that he was right to be prepared to eat and to sleep anywhere. Good health, he writes, is the most important thing on a trip like this. You cannot stay healthy unless you eat and sleep well. Along the Asian Highway is a well-written and continuously interesting story, a record of the courage and endurance of an ordinary family who took the most extraordinary holiday. 16. The topic of this passage is A. John Smith's family. B. A journey across Europe. C. An account of the publisher's adventure. D. A review of a book entitled Along the Asian Highway. E. A chapter taken from a book entitled Traveling Hopefully. 17. What is the writer's expectation for readers after reading this book? A. The readers will become an expert in traveling. B. The readers will know the strengths and weaknesses of this traveling. C. The readers will know about the Smiths traveling. D. The readers will enjoy the story about traveling. E. The readers will enjoy the traveling in Nepal. C. The readers will know about the Smiths traveling. D. The readers will enjoy the story about traveling. E. The readers will enjoy the traveling in Nepal. Hello. We're new to the neighborhood, and we're throwing a housewarming party. August 25th, 2025 in the afternoon at 24, Permai Street, Bandung Bambang Wijaya, and Paramitha. 18. What is the invitation about? A. Neighborhood. B. A welcoming party. C. A newcomer's party. D. A housewarming party. E. A baby showering party. 19. What we can infer from the invitation. A. The party starts in the evening. B. The party will last until midnight. C. Those who are invited should bring a present. D. Bambang and Paramitha have just moved house. E. The invitation are only for those who live next to Bambang and Paramitha's house. Announcement. Because of the high demand for electrical power due to extremely cold weather, the city is facing a serious power shortage. We are asking residents to help us avoid this situation. Please reduce your power consumption as much as possible. Lower household heat to 60 degrees. Turn off all necessary appliances. Postpone energy-consuming tasks such as doing the laundry. Laundry. 20. The writer announces A serious power shortage in the city. B. The high demand for electrical power C. The extremely cold weather in the city D. The need to turn off all unnecessary appliances E. The demand for postponing energy-consuming tasks 21. For whom is the announcement intended? A. The residents of the city B. The companies in the city C. The rich people in the city. D. The officials who work in the E. The employees of the electricity. Jakarta. 7 people were killed in a collision between a bus, a car, and a truck on Diponegoro Street at 10:35 p.m. last night. The dead were all passengers of the car. The police believe the car had been trying to overtake the bus when it was struck by a truck coming from the opposite direction. The driver of the car might not be using his lights, as the truck driver said he did not see the car approaching. The police said the car should not have tried to pass the bus, since overtaking is not allowed on Diponegoro Street. In addition, the police reported that the car, a small Japanese car, should not have been carrying more than 5 people. If the passengers had brought their identity cards, the police would have identified the names of the victims easily. 22. The text mainly reports that there was /were. A. A car accident B. A careless driver C. A small Japanese car. D. Victims of an accident E. The function of an identity card. 23. If the passengers had brought their identity cards, the police would have identified the names of the victims easily. Last sentence. The sentence above means A. The victims were easily to identify B. The victims' names were unknown. C. The passengers brought their identity card D. The police had no difficulty in identifying the victims E. It was easy for the police to identify the victims of the accident 24. The police believed the car had been trying to overtake the bus when it was struck by a truck. Paragraph 1. The underlined word refers to A. The police B. The bus C. The car D. The truck E. The passenger B. The bus C. The car D. The truck E. The passenger. Once upon a time, there lived a kind-hearted man and his wife. One morning, his wife found a poor little sparrow. She took it gently and fed it. To show its gratitude, the sparrow stayed with them and sang every morning. However, there was an ill-tempered old woman who didn't like the sparrow. She cut the sparrow's tongue. That's why the bird flew away to its previous nest. Knowing that their sparrow flew away, the kind man and his wife looked for the sparrow. They walked a long way, crossed the bridges, climbed the mountains, and passed the woods. Not long afterward, they could find the sparrow's nest. The sparrow welcomed them and provided a feast for them. Before they went home, the sparrow brought 2 baskets. One was large and looked heavy, and the other one was small and light. The sparrow asked them to choose only one. They chose the small, and that was the best choice. There were many rolls of silk and piles of gold in it. Being jealous, the ill-tempered old woman did the same thing as the kind man and his wife did. She went to see the sparrow. The sparrow then offered her 2 baskets, but she chose the heavy one. The big basket actually contained wasps and venomous crawlers, such as scorpions, centipedes, and other horrible creatures. Finally, before she reached her home, the animal stung and bit her to death. 25. The writer's purpose of writing the story is A. To persuade the readers to keep the good relationship B. To share to the readers about an unusual event C. To inform the readers about his or her past experience D. To explain the writer's past experience E. To entertain the readers with the story 26. When do we know that the problem of the story has been resolved? A. When the bird returned to its nest B. When the ill-tempered woman cut the sparrow's tongue C. When the kind-hearted woman found a poor little sparrow D. When the kind-hearted man and woman looked for the sparrow E. When the horrible creatures stung and bit the wicked woman to death. 27. What moral value can we take from the story? A. People should keep a bird or any pet in their house. B. People shouldn't be either mean to others or greedy. C. People should find the lost thing until it is found. D. People should exercise more, such as hiking. E. People should learn to avoid dangerous animals. 28. There was an ill-tempered old woman who didn't like the sparrow. Paragraph 2. Which of the following is not synonymous with the underlined word? A. Lively. B. Grumpy. C. Irritable. D. Annoyed. E. Bad-tempered. Recycling is important in today's world if we want to leave this planet for our future generations. It is good for the environment, since we are making new products from the old products which are of no use to us. There are many reasons why it's important to recycle as much as possible. Making new products out of recycled materials reduces the need to consume precious resources. So recycling helps protect raw materials and protect natural habitats for the future. Using recycling materials in the manufacturing process uses considerably less energy than that required for producing new products from raw materials. Recycling reduces the need for extracting, mining, quarrying and logging, refining and processing raw materials, all of which create substantial air and water pollution. As recycling saves energy, it also reduces greenhouse gas emissions, which helps to tackle climate change. There are over 1,500 landfill sites in the UK and, in 2001, these sites produced a quarter of the UK's emissions of methane, a powerful greenhouse gas that is released as the biodegradable waste, such as food and paper, decomposes. Existing landfill sites are filling up fast, and there is very limited space for new ones. A massive reduction in the amount of waste we send to landfill is required if we are to avoid the heavy fines and the landfill taxes that are being imposed by central government on councils that exceed their landfill allowances. Increases in your council tax or service cuts in other areas would be the only way of paying these penalties. 29. What does the text highlight? A. Reasons to recycle. B. Conserving the energy. C. Protecting the environment. D. Environmental construction. E. Saving money through recycling. 30. We know from the text that, if we recycle, A. Landfill sites will decrease. B. Climate change will continue. C. More new products will be reduced. D. Natural habitats will be less affected. E. Air and water pollution will be affected. 31. Recycling reduces the need for extracting, mining, quarrying, and logging, refining, and processing raw materials, all of which create substantial air and water pollution. Paragraph 3. Based on this quote, we can conclude that the writer is telling us that A. Recycling saves money. B. Recycling reduces landfill. C. Recycling saves energy. D. Recycling conserves raw materials. E. Recycling helps us protect the environment. 32. Recycling reduces the need for extracting. It reduces pollution. A. Because. B. After. C. Where. D. But. E. So. Lawrence National Park is located in Indonesia's Papua province, along the Pegunungan Mandala Range. A. Because. B. After. C. Where. D. But. E. So. Lawrence National Park is located in Indonesia's Papua province, along the Pegunungan Mandala Range, whose Puncak Kartens, 4,884 MASL, is the highest peak in Southeast Asia. It covers an area of 2.35 million hectares, making it the largest conservation area in Southeast Asia. It stretches for over 150 kilometers from Papua's Central Cordillera Mountains in the north to the Arafura Sea in the south. Lawrence National Park was designated as a national park in 1997 under decree of the Minister of Forestry. It contains an outstanding range of ecosystems. It is one of only 3 tropical regions in the world that have glaciers. Its mosaic of land systems ranges from snow-capped mountain peaks to extensive lowland wetlands and coastal areas. It also contains fossil sites, a high level of endemism, and the richest biodiversity in the region. 34 vegetation types and 29 land systems have been identified within the park, along with some 123 mammal species. It represents 80% of the total mammalian fauna of Papua. Mammals recorded include 2 of the world's 3 monotremes, the short-beaked echidna, Tachyglossus aculeatus, and the long-beaked echidna, Zyglosus bruaginii, a New Guinea endemic. In addition, it is also home to a large number of restricted range and endemic bird species. 33. According to the text, Lawrence National Park A is a part of Punkat Cartons Area B. Is home to many types of vegetation. C was not initially intended to become a national park. D is the only tropical region in the world which has glaciers. E is a huge mountain that gives shelter for many Papuan species. 34. Why is Lawrence National Park named the largest conservation area in Southeast Asia? A. Because it contains so many fossil sites. B. Because it has a high level of endemism. C. Because it has the highest mountain peak in Southeast Asia. D. Because of its more than 2 million hectare wide area. E. Because it is home to a large number of bird species. 35. Snow-capped mountain peaks, lowland wetlands, and coastal areas are included into Lawrence National Park. A. None and of B. Both and C. Because and so. D. Neither and nor. E. Not either and or. Dear Donnie, it feels like such a long time since the last time I saw you. I know it's only been several weeks since I saw you. So far, my summer has been great. I spent last weekend watching Day 6 concert, our favorite band. If you has been here, we would have watched it together. It was so lit. It's a shame I went there alone. But I took several pictures from the show for you. After that, up until now, I've been practicing my bass guitar. I want to win the bass guitar competition later in September. Wish me luck, mate. When there's no practice schedule, I usually go around my hometown and taste many of street food that I haven't tasted before. I feel like I become a wonder of my own town. You should check them out too when you are here. I hope the summer's been going well for you too. There's only a month and a half left in summer vacation, and after that it's time to go back to school. Would you like to meet up sometime before school starts? Your friend, Brian. 36. According to the letter, what will Donnie most likely do when he's in Brian's hometown? A. Practice bass guitar. B. Watch Day 6 concert. C. Taste the street food. D. Go to school together. E. Take a lot of pictures together. 37. We can conclude from the letter that A. Brian plays in a band. B. Brian is Donnie's cousin. C. Donnie never went to a concert before. D. Brian and Donnie live in a different towns. E. Donnie will join a bass guitar competition. B. Brian is Donnie's cousin. C. Donnie never went to a concert before. D. Brian and Donnie live in a different towns. E. Donnie will join a bass guitar competition. Have you ever been in trouble and wanted to get away? The white-tailed deer can swim, run, hide, and fight to stay out of trouble. If you want to know how they do it, read on. In early April, fawns, baby deer, are born. After a few weeks, the doe, the mother deer, leaves her fawns to find food. The doe leaves her fawns in a bushy place. The trees and grass can help keep the fawns from being seen by hungry predators. The white-tailed deer has many predators, such as these: mountain lions, bobcats, leopards, lions, dogs, bears, tigers, coyotes, wolves, and even humans. The fawn's camouflage hides them in April's trees and golden grasses. In spring, the fawn's fur is brown with white spots. In summer, the fawn's white spots disappear and never come back. In winter, their fur is gray, which helps them hide in the snow. When the deer see, smell, or hear something suspicious, they stick their white tails up to signal that danger is near. The leader will run, and the others will follow. When a deer is chased to water, it knows what to do. The deer will win this battle. The deer runs into the water and swims to the deepest part. If the predator thinks it's going to win the battle, it is wrong. The deer will kick and thrash until the predator drowns or walks off wounded. If a deer is in a wide open field and notices a predator, it will run zigzag to get away. It runs zigzag to confuse the predator. If the deer ran straight, it could become a venison feast. There is one more way that deer stay out of trouble. Bucks fight with weapons called antlers. These are different from horns because they are attached to the skull, and horns are not. Antlers are made of bone and have vitamins in them. The deer can use its antlers to protect itself. Deer stay safe by hiding, swimming, running, and fighting. Whenever you see a deer raise its tail, you know that it has seen a predator. 38. What is the purpose of the text? A. To explain about white-tailed deer in a wide open field. B. To describe about white-tailed deer's appearance. C. To explain about white-tailed deer's camouflage. D. To describe about white-tailed deer's predators. E. To explain how white-tailed deer stays safe. 39. When does a deer stick its white tail up? A. When the leader wants to gather its fellow. B. When it is chased by a predator. C. When it sees a danger. D. When it is fighting. E. When it is hungry. 40. What does a buck, male deer, use his antlers for? A. For calling the members. B. For looking for food. C. For alarming danger. D. For sending signal. E. For fighting. For calling the members. B. For looking for food. C. For alarming danger. D. For sending signal. E. For fighting. The most familiar speleothems, from the Greek word speleon for the cave and thema for deposit, the decorative dripstone features found in caves, are stalactites and stalagmites. Stalactites hang downward from the ceiling of the cave, and are formed as drop after drop of water slowly trickles through crack on the cave roof. Stalagmites grow upward from the floor of the cave, generally as a result of water dripping from an overhead stalactite. A column forms when a stalactite and a stalagmite grow until they join. A curtain or drapery begins to form on an inclined ceiling when drops of water trickle along a slope. Natural openings on the surface that lead to caves are called sinkholes or swallow holes. Streams sometimes disappear down these holes and flow through the cavern. Rivers may flow from one mountain to another through a series of caves. Some caverns have sinkholes in their floors. Water often builds up a rim of dripstone around the edge of the hole. Dripping water often contains dissolved minerals as well as acid. These minerals too will be deposited, and they may give rich coloring to the deposits. If minerals in the water change, layers of different colors may be formed. 41. Stalagmites are formed by A. Drops of water which enter through cracks in the ceiling. B. Underground rivers which flow through the cave. C. Water dripping from an overhead stalactite. D. Water which trickles down a slope. E. When the minerals in the water change. 42. Which speleothem grows upward from the floor? A. Stalagmites. B. Stalactites. C. Sinkholes. D. Curtains. E. Slopes. 43. And they may give rich coloring to the deposits. The word they refers to. A. Dripping water. B. Minerals. C. Acid. D. Deposits. E. Caverns. 44. What is the other word for sinkholes in this text? A. Slopes. B. Stalagmites. C. Stalactites. D. Curtains. E. Swallow holes. Dolphins are B. Stalagmites. C. Stalactites. D. Curtains. E. Swallow holes. Dolphins are regarded as the friendliest creatures in the sea, and stories of them helping drowning sailors have been common since Roman times. The more we learn about dolphins, the more we realize that their society is more complex than people previously imagined. They look after other dolphins when they are ill, care for pregnant mothers, and protect the weakest in the community, as we do. Some scientists have suggested that dolphins have a language, but it is much more probable that they communicate with each other without needing words. Could any of these mammals be more intelligent than man? Certainly the most common argument in favor of man's superiority over them, that we can kill them more easily than they can kill us, is the least satisfactory. On the contrary, the more we discover about these remarkable creatures, the less we appear superior when we destroy them. 45. We can conclude from the passage that dolphins A. Don't want to be with us as much as we want to be with them. B. Are proven to be less intelligent than once thought. C. Have a reputation for being friendly to humans. D. Are the most powerful creatures that live in the oceans. E. Are capable of learning a language and communicating with humans. 46. Dolphins are regarded as the friendliest creatures in the sea, and stories of them helping drowning sailors. The underlined word has similar meaning to A. Ignoring. B. Neglecting. C. Assisting. D. Swimming. E. Sinking. 47. One can infer from the reading that A. Dolphins are quite abundant in some areas of the world. B. Communication is the most fascinating aspect of the dolphins. C. Dolphins have skills that no other living creatures have, such as the ability to think. D. It is not usual for dolphins to communicate with each other. E. Dolphins have some social traits that are similar to those of humans. Anton van Leeuwenhoek was a Dutch cloth merchant. His life began to change after he got his first microscope in 1653. It was a very simple microscope. It had a lens in an upright stand. It could make small things look large. It was handy for looking closely at cloth. Soon, Anton felt a longing to build a more powerful microscope. He dreamed of using it to make an important scientific discovery. He wanted to become famous. 3 decades later, he did. For many years, Anton experimented with microscopes and lenses. Eventually, he constructed a very powerful microscope. If he had sold the concept to others, it would have made him very rich. However, Anton refrained from surrendering his secret to anyone. Instead, he wanted to use it to become famous. So he used his secret microscope to study the natural world. One day he was looking at saliva from his mouth with the microscope. In the saliva, he saw numerous tiny particles. Some of them were moving. He thought that the particles were tiny organisms. So he isolated them from each other and studied each one carefully. Then he classified them into different categories. Some were round. Others were long and had tails. All were alive. Anton was so excited. He knew he could become famous now. He was the first person to see these tiny organisms. So he drew diagrams of the organisms and sent them to a group of scientists in London. The scientists were sophisticated men who did not believe tiny, animate organisms could live in our mouths. Anton made a plea for them to come to Holland to see the organisms with their own eyes. The men took a ferry to Holland and met Anton. They performed a careful review of his work, and they conceded that he had made a worthwhile discovery. Anton van Leeuwenhoek had discovered bacteria. After decades of hard work, he had become famous. 48. What have Anton van Leeuwenhoek discovered? A. Microscopes. B. Lenses. C. Bacteria. D. Microscopes and bacteria. E. Saliva. 49. Which is true about Anton's discovery? A. It isolated him from his work. B. It was handy for his business. C. It was not worthwhile. D. It took him 3 decades to make it. E. It doesn't work properly. 50. Anton made a plea for them to come to Holland to see the organisms with their own eyes. The underlined word refers to A. Anton van Leeuwenhoek. B. The scientist. C. Organisms. D. Bacteria. E. Sophisticated man.
Terima kasih sudah menonton videonya. Jangan lupa di like, di komen, dan di share. Terima kasih.
Panjang garis akhir yang ku pandang, apapun mereka bilang, tekadku takkan hilang, jalanku masih panjang. garis akhir yang ku pandang. Apapun mereka bilang, tekadku takkan hilang. Jalanku masih panjang, garis akhir yang ku pandang. Apapun mereka bilang, tekadku takkan hilang. Jalanku masih panjang, garis akhir yang ku pandang. Apapun mereka bilang, tekadku takkan hilang. Jalanku masih panjang, garis akhir yang ku pandang. Apapun mereka bilang, tekadku takkan hilang. Jalanku masih panjang, garis akhir yang ku pandang.